because if you are an extremist government that is slaughtering innocent people, you become a pariah. And when others point out that you're slaughtering innocent people and you resent that, you make yourself completely isolated in the world. And so the reason that Israel doesn't appear at diplomatic functions is that it has isolated itself from world opinion because of the way that it is behaving.
Is Trump doing anything for peace in Gaza?
We don't know. We really don't know what he is. One very important thing, as we talked about last time, is he is resisting the call for war with Iran. Of course, the United States is in no position to have another war anywhere right now, not from a military stockpile point of view, not from a geopolitical point of view, not from a fiscal point of view. And so Trump is doing the right thing in resisting Netanyahu's call. Now, he has to keep doing it because the pressures are relentless to side with this extremist Israeli government. What is he going to do in Gaza and on the issue of Israel and Palestine? What he should do, of course, is to recognize a state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel, like the vast majority of the world. I estimate 95% of the world population live in countries that are on side for the two-state solution. And that includes all the Arab states, and it includes the 57 Islamic majority states in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. What is Trump actually going to do? Like usual, I'm not sure he knows, and I'm not sure that we can know. But he has an idea, which is a wrong idea, that needs to be cleared up. And the idea is that he can establish peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and maybe some other Arab countries and Israel, without needing to face the question of the Palestinian statehood, which is a difficult one because of the Israel lobby. So he's hoping that offers of big armaments for Saudi Arabia or other kinds of deals for Saudi Arabia will entice Saudi Arabia to say, yeah, we will normalize with Israel and no Palestinian state necessary. The Saudis, however, have been extremely clear on this point, as has the Arab League, as have countries all over the world, that there can be no normalization unless there's a state of Palestine in this context. Otherwise, the violence, the killing, the cruelty, the illegality of what Israel is doing is far too high to enable any kind of normal relations. Whether Trump realizes this or not is a big question. Whether he hears this clearly when he goes to the Middle East very shortly, in just a few days, if he hears this clearly from the Arab leaders, if he hears it clearly from Saudi Arabia, if he hears it clearly from other leaders that he's going to visit, he may reach the same correct conclusion that he reached in Ukraine, which is that there's only one route to peace. That is the two-state solution. And that actually, strangely enough, is completely in America's hands. Israel has no veto over the two-state solution. The reason is simple. The membership of Palestine as a UN state is a matter that comes up in the UN Security Council, where Israel has no veto. It's only the United States that put a veto on the state of Palestine. It's only the U.S. that has blocked the path to peace. If Donald Trump says, no, I'm not going to block the path to peace anymore, the U.S. changes its vote, then the UN Security Council will give membership to Palestine as the 194th UN member state. The UN General Assembly will vote probably 185 to maybe 3 against and the others not voting or something like that. In other words, the overwhelming expression of humanity will be for the two-state solution. So this is really an issue in front of the United States in the next few weeks.
But is this a pipe dream, given the ironclad grip that the donor class has on the American government? The President of the United States just put a former IDF soldier who is a citizen of Israel in the National Security Council in charge of the Iran-Israel desk. Come on.
Yes. So here is the point. Just as with Ukraine, which was based on a 30-year project of the CIA and the rest of the deep state to surround Russia, to weaken Russia, maybe to divide Russia, and so forth, that 30-year effort failed. And Donald Trump said, I don't want to hold a losing hand.
Okay.
And so he changed quite fundamentally American policy towards Russia just in recent weeks. We might have said, that's a pipe dream. America's anti-Russian. Look at the last 5 presidents and so forth. But Donald Trump basically took a pragmatic view and said, I don't want to play a losing hand. Now, when you turn to Israel and the Middle East, Israel has pushed the United States to play not just one losing hand, but losing hands repeatedly during the last almost 30 years as well, since Netanyahu became prime minister in the mid-1990s. And for me, it's the same point. Yes, it seems impossible that the United States would change. And maybe it would have been impossible given the power of the Israel lobby in the early 2000s when John Mearsheimer and Steve Walt wrote their brilliant book about the Israel lobby and explained all of this very, very clearly. But now we're nearly 30 years on. Netanyahu has led the United States into one disaster after another. Netanyahu's country is so profoundly divided right now. He's breaking apart the country. So Donald Trump actually has more of a free hand than we might imagine, because the American people are aghast at what Israel is doing. They're not siding with Israel on this. This is not public opinion that Donald Trump would have to oppose. Yes, this is a lobby that Donald Trump would have to oppose. But Donald Trump could explain to the American people, just like he has explained the Ukraine situation, that this is the losing path of Biden. This is the losing path of previous presidents. He's not going to play that losing path anymore. It may sound like a long shot. Maybe it is a long shot. It happens to be the right thing to do, and I wouldn't rule it out.
My goodness, I wish he would listen to you. And we know he's listened to you in the past, because he posted some brilliant and forceful comments that you made about Prime Minister Netanyahu. I want to bring you back to Ukraine before we finish. Do you think that the Europeans are misguided enough to try to replace the United States if, as Vance and Rubio have threatened, the spigot is turned off in a week?
Some of them definitely are. I would say the British have no sense. Somebody needs to tell them that they lost their empire a while ago, because they still behave as if they're the British Empire running the world, though they have, as Donald Trump would say, no cards to play. So Starmer is absurd in what he's saying. There are a few others that are absolutely absurd, but there are also some European leaders that not only know the truth, but are speaking it absolutely clearly. Of course, the most clear-headed of all has been the Hungarian leader, Viktor Orban. The Slovak leader, Robert Fico, absolutely clear. And throughout Europe, there are more and more political leaders that are making the obvious point. This is failing. This is not working. We couldn't do it with the US. We can't do it without the US. This has to stop. I actually, in Rome, spoke to a massive peace gathering called a couple of weeks ago. There were about 80,000 people in the Roman Forum, stretching to the Colosseum. It was quite a location to give some remarks, which I did. But the outpouring for peace in Italy, which I've seen with my own eyes, is profound. Prime Minister Meloni is on the good side of President Trump. If President Trump says to Prime Minister Meloni, look, we need to stick together to get this peace deal done, there's a good chance she's going to say, that's right. And when she says that's right, then Europe has no basis for acting as Europe, because Europe has to act in a consensus manner. And when there is no consensus at all, Europe is absolutely barred by their constitution, essentially. In other words, by the, let me say more specifically, by the treaties that govern the European Union, that they can't continue this.